Hello everyone, how's it going? This is the Bald Metal Nerd coming at you with another wonderful vid. Obviously, you know what the hell this is because I'm sure you already read the title. This is going to be another lovely unemployment update video. First thing off the bat, I'm going to just do some house cleaning, talk about things that I accomplished this week. Probably the most important thing that I accomplished was I sent in my paperwork to get my 401k money transferred from the plan of the assholes who fired me into my other retirement plan that I have the rest of my 401k money in. So I got the paperwork in to take it out from there and put it in there. So that's done, which is good because this is just a general tip for anyone who changes jobs. You don't want to have a million 401k accounts spread across, like 5 or 6 or however many places you've worked. You don't want 5 or 6 different 401k accounts. You kind of want to try to roll everything into one account if you can. I'm lucky that I have an account with an outfit called Ohio Deferred Compensation. I got that account when I worked for a governmental agency, and they charge no fees for anything. Like, they literally charge you no money at all to have your money. There's no fees for anything. So that's where I have all my money, and any new 401ks that I get as I leave employment, wherever the hell I go, it's just going to go right in. It's always going to go there because of that. So there you go. I got that done. The other thing I got done is, I was kind of curious from the beginning to see if I had any sort of legal recourse against my former employer for, being terminated, right? And I finally, this week, looked up some more employment attorneys that are local to me. Plus, I had a copy of the handbook, the employee handbook from my wonderful former employers. And I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what was in the, handbook. In the handbook, it states that if you are a bad performer or whatever, that there are basically steps that they'll take. And they say, there's like verbal warnings, written warnings, et cetera, up to termination. But of course, on that exact same page in the handbook, it says, but that doesn't mean the company will follow or has to follow any of these procedures if they're going to discipline you. This does not change the at-will relationship. You can still be fired at any time for any reason or no reason at all. So it says all this shit about the stuff they typically do when they, before they fire somebody. But then on the exact same page of the fucking handbook, it says, those rules don't apply to us. We can still say, fuck you, hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more. So I was relaying all this to an employment attorney. I also told him, why I got, quote, in trouble, that it was basically, the time that there were conversations had by me. I explained that it was based on things that I was talking about. I said one of the things was politics, which, in my opinion, should be, protected by First Amendment rights. Now, I know that only, relates to the government, but, whatever. And, I was relaying all of this to the employment attorney, and basically the employment attorney told me that I would only have a case if I was fired because of my race, gender, religion, sexual orientation, disability, age, things of that. Like, if I was some sort of a, quote, protected class, then I would probably have a case. But since obviously I am just a heterosexual white male, yes, I'm middle-aged, but I'm not extremely old yet. I guess that's one benefit of getting older, right? I am not a protected class at all, so I'm pretty much fucked. There's no, it's an at-will, situation. That means they can fire you with or without reason at any time, as long as it's not for something illegal. And since they didn't fire me for anything illegal, I'm fucked. So that is for all of my international friends, that is the wonderful employment status here in the wonderful United States of America. Basically, when you take a job, you have no protection whatsoever against losing that job. Again, I'm not saying that people should not be able to be fired, but I think to fire someone, you should have an actual reason to do it, not just cause, right? Just like, I don't like that guy. Fuck him. Get him out of here. That should not be a reason to fire somebody. It should have to be kind of, just again, my personal opinion, there should be some steps taken before a person is fired, yada, yada, yada. There should be warnings, whatever. There should be some sort of rule set for this. And again, strange enough, Montana is the only exception to this in the entire United States. Maybe we should all move there. Maybe they're doing something right out west. So anyway, that's done. So just to talk a little bit about what I've been up to this week. Well, I went on 3 interviews. I'm not really going to talk too much about those because it seems when I go into detail about jobs I want, I don't get them. Because last week I talked about a job that could be almost, quote, a dream job. You'll never guess. You'll never guess what happened. I didn't get it. I got the wonderful FU message of we're going with other candidates, right? So that's okay. I knew that my odds of getting it weren't, extremely high, right? So I interviewed for 3 jobs this week. 2 of them were pretty decent. I'm not going to talk about those because it seems to be bad luck, but I will talk about the shitty job that I interviewed for this week because my first job, not my first interview. Yeah, I guess my first interview of the week was on Tuesday. It was for one of the decent jobs. And then today, Friday, I had 2 interviews. My first one was at noon, and it was with basically what the job would be. Anyone with even like the tiniest amount of IT knowledge could do this job. It's almost a trained monkey could do it. Basically, I would be working for a contractor doing basically a Windows 7 to 10 migration on a bunch of PCs for a healthcare provider, right? So basically, all it is taking a PC, reimaging it, with Windows 10 and loading software on it and taking it and hooking it up. And there's no planning, there's no user support issues. It's not really a traditional IT role at all. It's literally just a project. This is a really large regional healthcare provider with many, many, many computers. They expect this project to run through at least February, probably longer, but it is a temporary role. So here's what happened with that interview. I get there, not long before 12. I get there at maybe, I'm thinking 11:55, something like that, right? So I'm trying to call the person who's supposed to meet me there, right? Because she's like, I'll meet you in the lobby. And I'm like, okay. So I go there, nowhere to be found, right? So I'm hanging out. I'm like, well, it's still, so I call her up. She, of course, doesn't answer her phone. It's just like, oh, God. So there's no, receptionist. There's no office, anything. Basically, the lobby was next to a cafeteria, right? So there's no, anybody there. So I'm just, standing there like a goon, right? So I wait till, I guess, noon on the dot, right? And the woman still hasn't appeared. So, I call her again. No answer. I send her a text message. Nothing. So then I spot a desk that says, for IT help, pick up this phone, right? I was like, well, it is for IT. So I pick up the phone, and it just rings and rings and rings and rings and rings, and no one answers. So I'm pretty annoyed. Then I spot another phone, and I was like, well, I wonder if I dial 0 for a receptionist, let's see what we can do. So I pick it up, I dial 0, I talk to somebody, right? And I tell the person who I'm looking for, and they're like, oh, we don't have that person on our directory. I was like, well, she's in the IT, she works for another company. They're like, oh, that probably explains it. We'll transfer you to the IT department. I'm like, great. So I get transferred to the IT department. I get somebody's fucking voicemail. So by this point, it's like, I don't know, 10 after 12 or so, and I'm starting to get really fucking pissed, right? And so I just flagged down like random employees who were just like walking by, you know. Actually, no, I flagged down a random woman first, and she was relatively attractive, so that was kind of nice. But you know, I asked, she's like, I'm sorry, I don't actually work here. And I'm like, okay, well, thank you. You know, and then I flagged down another person, and I say, do you know the person I'm here to interview with? And she says, no, I really have no idea who that is. I'm like, do you know if anybody? She's like, no, I'm sorry, I don't know if anybody. So I stay in there a couple more minutes. Finally, the woman appears, right? You know, I don't know. By this time, it's like, you know, 12 or 13 after. So, you know, I'm somewhat annoyed by this point. We go in, and it's like we go into this room, and it is literally the shortest job interview I've ever had in my life. Like, because it was such a silly. I mean, it's just such a low level job, and she's telling me about it, and you know how it's temporary and everything. And she's like, and then maybe 10 minutes, and then at the end, she's like, "Do you have any questions for me about this role?" And I said, "Not really." I said, obviously, I know exactly what it is. I would just be, you know, upgrading computers from Windows 7 to 10 and delivering them to people, essentially. And that's pretty much it. She's like, yeah, that's it. Okay, there's not really many questions about that. I said, do I get mileage reimbursement if I have to drive around? She said, yes. And I'm like, okay, so I get paid for mileage. Great. You know, so I asked a few questions. I said, well, obviously, I've been doing IT for 15 years. I've done things like this countless times. I can obviously handle this job. She's like, yeah, I know you could. So I'm like, all right. And you know, and she asked me how I felt about it, like the job, and I was, you know how I said honesty is not always the best policy. Well, I guess shame on me. I was honest again. I said honestly, it beats not working, you know, it essentially, and she knows I have, you know, other places I was going. But she seemed interested in me. Again, I don't know if I'm, quote, jinxing this one. I don't really care that much because it's kind of a terrible job, you know, and I think it would be fairly low paying. She's like, well, you know, let me know if you get another job offer. I'm like, okay. So I have a feeling that if I don't get another job offer, again, just a feeling, that I will get that offer. So I don't know. I could be completely wrong. It could easily not happen. Believe me, I have no gauge for this. Like, because there have been plenty of times where I've went on job interviews and I thought it went extremely well and I did not get the job offer. And then there are times I've been on job interviews and I was like, yeah, I don't know how that went, where I did get a job offer. So I can't really say what I think is going to happen. It could easily go either way for all three of the positions I'm currently in consideration for. So that's where I'm at. That's my current update. But there is a bright spot in all of this. You know how I said I've been getting tons of calls from Indian recruiters? the bright spot is I am able to heap verbal abuse on those people. Because fuck them. You know, fuck them. Fuck them. I have nothing but verbal abuse that I heap on these poor Indians when they call me up, right? Especially like when I know it's not like legitimate, right? There were two this week that I really fucked with quite a bit. There was one today who calls me up, and I'm like, because you know, I answer the phone. I'm like, hello. He's like, hello, you in the, and I'm like, yeah. And then he's like, this job is in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm like, I said, you said Madison, Wisconsin? He says, yes, that's correct. And then I said to him, I said, do you know where I am? Oh, I said, I'm near Cincinnati. I said, Madison, Wisconsin is several states away. That's hours and hours away from here. I said, do you think I'm going to relocate for a contract? Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I'm like, no, obviously I'm not. And then I'm like, and then I yell into the phone, Duh! And then I hang up on the guy. It's a fun thing that I can do. And then there was another one who I've heard from, because you always hear from multiple Indians about like certain jobs, right? I probably heard about from, I don't know, 7 or 8 different Indians about some crappy $20 an hour, couple of month contract for some shithole, right? And they're all the same, right? And he's like, because, when he told me what the name of the company was, I said, I've already been submitted for this. And like he was kind of arguing with me a little bit. And then I sent him an email. I'm actually going to read this to you guys. You might get a kick out of it. I think it's pretty damn funny what I sent to him. Let's see if I can find it. Unless I deleted it. Sent mail. Did I delete it? Oh, that's a shame. Okay, I deleted it. Whatever. So basically what I said, because he was emailing me and I was like, dude, I've already been submitted for this, and he just wouldn't stop bothering me. And so what I emailed to him is I said, yeah, I said, honestly, I view you guys like I view the lottery. I'm sure somewhere, at some point, somehow, someone has gotten a job through one of you, right? I said, but I've never even gotten a phone interview because of any of you people, ever. And I talked to, I don't know how many of you a day. I said, I don't know if you get based on the number of phone calls you make, the number of resumes you submit, or what. But, I don't think I'll ever actually get a job through any of you. And then he sends me then he calls me up and he's like, oh no, I assure you, sir, there are jobs and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, I don't care. I really, and he's like defending his honor. He's like, well, we placed him so, and he's like giving me like his record of placing. It was fucking hilarious. He's like defending his honor, Guess what? And then he's, of course, wanted to still submit me. That's the beauty of this, right? Is like, you can abuse these people so much. Like, you can say literally anything to them. You can cuss them out. You can heap verbal abuse on them. They'll fucking still submit you for these. It's hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. So that is, the upside to this. Like, obviously, like, if I think it's a real job opportunity, and I'm talking to a person who actually matters somewhat in the process, I'm going to be not like that. I'm obviously going to be very professional and polite and accommodating to folks like that. But to the Indians, yeah, I just heap abuse on them. And if you find yourself in this situation and they start calling you, feel free to do the same thing. There's no need to be polite to these people. They're basically spammers, in my opinion. They are on the same level as spammers. So there's no reason to be polite. It doesn't get you anywhere. Because a while back, I used to be polite to the Indians, like once upon a time. Right? I was polite to them. And then over time, I just learned that they're a joke. And they're no better than spammers. So just free advice. Be as rude as you want. It doesn't fucking matter. Because they're useless. So at least I am having a little bit of fun in all of this. Who knows what next week will bring? I don't know if I'll score any interviews next week or not, because next week is the week of the 4th of July. So I would imagine, since it's a holiday week, hiring will probably slow down a little bit and all that, but whatever. We'll see what happens. So that's basically it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, thank you so much for watching. You guys know what the hell to do. See you next time. Live long and prosper.